안녕하세요. 저는 지금 파이프 오르간을 제작하는 피스크샵에 와 있습니다. 한번 함께 가보실까요? 이분은 데이비드 파이크이시고 피스크 오르간 빌더이십니다. 그리고 이분은 앤드류 진저리이시고 오르간 빌더이십니다. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, so this is 154, it's coming apart, and actually we'll have two keyboards. I don't know, 22 maybe, somewhere around there. And this is Charles Fisk Opus 46, which was installed in 1965 in the Memorial Church at Harvard University.
Really?
And then in 2010, we removed it. It was at the front of the church.
이 오르간은 오피스 154이고 메카니컬 오르간인데 이 와이어 그리고 이 오르간에 대해서 좀 더 알아보고자 합니다. So could you explain why wire? What is this wire?
So this organ will have two keyboards. We are starting to take this organ apart. But what these wires do is the keys are attached by these carbon fiber trackers up to the valve inside the wind chest under the pipes. So as you play each key, it opens a valve and makes the pipes sound.
So let's go inside.
Take your coat off.
Yeah, right. Maybe that right. 오케이. 우리는 지금 오르간 안에 와 있는데요. 한번 좀 살펴볼까요? So
These are front pipes from the great 8-foot diapason or great foot principal. And here will be the great division down here, and up the stairs there is the swell division with all the swell shades and louvers there.
what is those other part?
And these are part of the posauna.
보자오나.
These are the
Oh,
bottom
okay.
octave of the posauna.
What is that?
These are wind chests here. You can see maybe the palette opening here.
여기는 아직 그레이트 파이프가 없지만 곧 채워질 거라고 합니다. 오르간을 올라가는 이것은 위험하기 때문에 조심해야 합니다.
What I'm doing now is disassembling the swell shade action. This is the volume control for the swell division. This is the mechanism that connects it to the swell shoe right at the console.
이 스웰 박스를 다시 제거하는 작업을 하고 있는데요. 왜냐하면 이것을 이제 인디아나폴리스로 보내야 하기 때문에 이것을 다시 떼어내고 다시 그곳에서 다시 이렇게 장착을 합니다. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Sure, you're welcome.
This is the swell, and the bass pipes are back here, and the treble pipes are in here. The board is there.
Oh, what is that?
And these are part of the gedeckt, which
Gedeckt.
don't fit on the chest so easily. We were trying to keep this organ as far.
지금은 10시인데요. 10시에는 피스크에서는 머그업이라고 이제 다 같이 모여서 커피와 이제 가져온 간식들을 함께 나눠 먹는 시간이 있는데 함께 가보실까요? 이것은 머그업을 하는 장소인데 많은 사람들이 지금 모여서 다 같이 커피 타임을 갖고 있습니다. 저는 지금 커피를 마셔볼까 합니다. 자, 그럼 어떤 직업들이 있는지 한번 보러 가실까요? 이분은 데이나 씨이시고요. 이분이 어떤 일을 하는지 살펴보실까요? Could you tell us about your work?
Yes, today I am designing some graphics for the American Guild of Organists convention this summer. So this will be a large mural at our booth at the convention.
Usually, what are you doing?
Usually?
Yes.
Well, I have several different jobs.
You're right.
Some of it is graphics and marketing. I also have a bench in the wood shop, and I make organ parts, keyboards, wind chests, a lot of different things. For each organ, we build a model of the room the organ will go in. So if you look around, you'll see organ models of a number of different instruments that we've built.
첫 번째로 먼저 공간을 만들고 그곳에 이제 오르간을 만든다고 합니다.
Yeah. So this is Opus 46, Charles Fisk's instrument for Harvard University.
이 오르간은 아까 좀 전에 저희가 봤던 그 앞에 있던 오르간인데요. 그 오르간의 모양입니다.
With Jonghee. So from eye to chin is the same as a standing height. So if your chin is at the level of the floor,
Yes.
you get a standing person's sight line.
와우.
So that works for all of these models.
이 모델을 이제 토대로 하는데 이거는 저희 얼굴 이제 이 사이즈와 똑같고 그래서 이렇게 이것을 모형을 놓았을 때 제가 여기서 본 그 시야와 똑같다고 합니다. 네, 오르간을 봤을 때 좀 실제로 이런 느낌인 거죠.
When we start thinking about an organ, say wherever we're going to go, we start out with a specification, for example.
Yes.
The visual design is done in a completely different way. And what we do essentially is to put everything here and then figure out how big the case will need to be and how the case should be arranged. You want each pipe to have enough room to speak. You want it to work well with its neighbors. You want all the stop action to work the way it's supposed to. So outside, and this is
이 오르간은 밖에서 봤던 Indianapolis?
This is Indianapolis, and you will forgive the garish colors.
자, 이거 이제 한 번 안으로 들어갔을 때 모습입니다. 자, 그럼 이제 데이나 씨와 함께 파이프샵에 함께 가보실까요? 이분은 린다 씨입니다. 파이프샵에서 이제 파이프를 만드는 일과 다른 여러 가지 일도 같이 함께 하고 있습니다.
This is one pipe. I'm making a set of 25 pipes and facade pipes for our continuo organs.
It's a lot.
So there are a lot of them behind this stack of wood. These are fronts and backs, all these piles of wood, these piles of wood. This is, the wind will come up from the bottom here, and there will be, the top of the pipe will start, the front of the pipe will start here, and the cap will be here. And eventually this will be cut off about here. So that's going to be the finished length of the pipe. Yeah, that's a good one. You can, this grain, this shimmer that goes across the. So that'll be the fronts. And
이것은 앞에 위치할 것입니다.
shellac or lacquer.
와우.
So you can see how the stripes show up in the facade. And, yeah.
이 무늬가 이렇게 앞에 이렇게 나타나게 될 것입니다.
So I was just getting ready to mark the cutout. I often use a red pencil because it's easier to see. So I've already drilled the foot hole. And then this will get cut out here and here. So all this goes away. Very involved. And here's Tony.
오케이. 이분은 토니 씨입니다. 이제 토니 씨가 어떤 일을 하는지 한번 여쭤보도록 하겠습니다. So, what's your work here?
So right now, these are frames and panels that go in the organ, and there are holes in them. So what we do is, this is scrim. It's a fabric cloth that's rather opaque, but it lets the sound out. So this is to keep the things inside the organ from being seen from the outside without having to block the sound coming out. This frame, it's nothing spectacular, but we take the scrim and we stretch it much like you would a painter's canvas over a frame. And we get our measurements by the frame exactly, rather than measure out and all that. So this will be the template. From an aesthetic standpoint, to make the organ more presentable and visually pleasing.
이분은 존 씨이십니다. What are you doing now?
This is a keyboard for one of the continual organs, and two more keyboards are there. And so this is boxwood, and we have rosewood. So I am just sanding the edges so that they're not sharp.
지금은 사포로 이제 모서리를 문질러서 이제 너무 날카롭지 않게 하는 작업을 하고 계십니다.
So the keyboard should feel nice to the player.
이 키보드는 이제 보통의 오르간과 달리 이곳이 얇고
For a big organ, they can be a little shorter to much longer.
it's up to
many
right?
many possibilities. We have the wind chests for the three continual organs.
What is the Winchester?
The wind chest has the valves for the keys. So each key is connected to one of the valves in there. And when you push a key, it opens the valve. And it lets air into a channel going this way. And when you pull on a stop, it lets air come from the channel up to the pipe.
밸브 또는 팔렛이 움직여서 바람이 통해서 파이프로 통해서 소리가 나오게 됩니다. Hi.
Welcome to the casting room.
Okay.
This is where the metallurgy takes place in the shop, where we cast the pipe metal. Down at this end is where we melt the metal down. So this is a gas-fired crucible. This is just a chunk of spotted metal. So we fill this up with ingots like that, and then light it, and it all melts down. It'll be, when it's full, it'll be filled up all the way to there. And then when it gets to the proper temperature, we take this ladle, simply ladle the metal out and pour it into this kettle. And then when that's full, there'll be one person on each side. So one person where you are, and then where I am is another person. So we'll pour the metal into this open bottomed box. As you can see, it just is resting on this table, which is made together, and slide it down the table, and it leaves behind a thin film of metal behind on this heat-resistant cloth. And then the metal cools almost immediately and will look like this on the table. Yeah, I'll take care of that. We'll get cracks in the middle. Chance by cracks, but we haven't had much trouble with that. And then what we'll do is trim off any rough ends, and we'll measure the metal in several different places to get a rough idea of how thick it is. And then we write those measurements down on this sheet that is a representation of the rough sheet of pipe metal. And then, so this is our catalog that we use when it's time to actually cut a set of pipes. It has all the thicknesses, it has the weight of the entire roll. And this is what a roll looks like when it's, after we've cast it and rolled it up, and we've written down the thicknesses on it, and it has a number 6 so we can find it in the catalog easily. After that, we'll cut out, and these are examples of the 3 alloys that we use. This is a 75% tin and 25% lead. And again, this is an unhammered piece. You can see the imprint of the fabric from the casting table. And then this piece is the same metal, 75%, 25%, but it's been hammered. And what it does is it gets rid of all the imprint of the fabric. And this will be the inside of the pipe, because the voicer is like a nice smooth surface inside the pipe, so it reflects and creates its sound better. And it also makes the outside of the metal look a lot nicer, kind of a nice sheen. Principals and string pipes that have lots of upper harmonics. This is a spotted metal, which is half tin and half lead, so it's a little bit softer than this. We often use this for 8-foot bases. It's a little bit easier to cast. But again, this is the unhammered, but with a smaller, anything 4 feet long and shorter, we'll hammer the metal.
And you can actually build German style, French style, many various style.
Yeah,
Right.
it really depends on, the liturgy that you want to play, or what you want to use the organ for, or what the preference is from the organist that's there doing the tonal design. So we always work, our voicers work with the organists to develop a stop list.
Thank you so much. Hello.
Hello.
테드 씨입니다. 자, 그러면 테드 씨가 어떤 일을 하는지 한번 물어보겠습니다. So what are you doing now?
I am cutting out a pipe. I am cutting out string pipes. This is the Bois Celeste. And this metal has been hammered. It has kind of a ripply edge. But I'm going to cut it so that the edges are straight. Make a mark here. Mark here. Pick up the pipe. Slide it in. So now I am happy with it, so I will cut.
Yeah.
And you can see what happens. So if I was correct, you can see the line I made. So that's good.
Good.
Then
Other side.
other side.
Jason Bowser, telephone line 1. Jason Bowser, line 1, please.
So I square it along here, and I just cut the end off. Now it's very perfectly square. Then I will turn it around. Now, this is G sharp. G sharp is supposed to be 1608 meters long. So, now 1608 is here, but we always make these about a little bit extra. This has the name of the stop, Opus 158 S8X. So X means so swell 8-foot Bois Celeste. So I put this here. I'm gonna bang it kind of like that. G sharp. And we have the
Chop.
sharp. There. Finished.
굿. 케이트 씨입니다.
So what the size does is very important. It protects the metal, but also in order to solder it and make it look nice, the solder only sticks to the exposed metal. So you have to remove some of that size there and expose the metal, and that's where the solder is going to attach itself and make a good bond. So first you have to do that, and then I put
캔들?
wax, which has a little bit of stearic acid, which helps as a flux. So D sharp 2, here's my D sharp 2 languid. And pipe order says they're open, so it's this gap here. I'm forming the windway. The gap is going to be the same thickness as the thickness of the. Try to hold it still and not let it move.
Yeah.
And I make my iron smoky.
Smoky is hot.
Just put a little tack there. Doesn't have to be pretty. And now I do the other side, so I'll eyeball it across. Add a little bit more flux. Keep it straight. And do another tack. So I'm going to look at it here, and I can see that this side is a little bit too wide. This is more what I want. So I'll adjust it. Just a little bit. You have to break the tack. And pull it back. So, and I can always go back later and but after I do that, so I would go around this and trim all the excess off. And sometimes if it's a really big pipe, I would take it to the bandsaw to get all that excess off. But with these, it's a little bit more efficient to just do it here at my bench. And this also, it doesn't have to be perfect. And I'm trying very hard to not mess up any of the metal on the foot itself. So you have to aim the bottom of this to only cut the languid instead of messing up any of that lead there. So that's probably about right.
Nice.
And add some flux over it. The flux will keep it from oxidizing, and as soon as the metal starts to oxidize, it's more difficult to solder it. It doesn't attach to the solder as easily, so this protects it from the air. So I'm gonna, what I like, people are different in what they do, but what I do is I press down to get rid of that gap there. Put another tack. And then I'll sort of eyeball the front, and I can see that it's also got a little bit of a gap, so it's too high. So you can tap it down gently. So that's much better. And then you just, this is probably the most fun part, is putting the solder on. And at the front, I have to be kind of careful to not let the solder go on the upper lip, because the lower lip, you can see how fresh and beautiful and clean that metal is. It wants to suck the solder onto it, but we don't want the solder to go there, so I just have to be careful.
It's nice.
After that, I would start working on the bodies and round them up and get them to the next point. Once the bodies are done, then I would fit them all together. And usually that requires smoothing this seam out a little bit with a file, and you have the body there and you fit it perfectly.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
지금 칼 씨는 보이싱 작업을 하고 있는데요.
Yes, it's called a voicing jack. And the holes are extra big so we can put a variety of different pipes in. Set how big the toe hole is, and we set the windway width, and we set the ears, and then you tap the languid down with a rod. I won't do it because I've already done it on this pipe, but you tap it down in the corners, and principals should overblow, so you hear the octave. And so I judge how easy or difficult it is to overblow, and I set them all so they're very similar. And the right width, the right thickness in there, and then knocking the languid down until the pipe speaks. When they come from the pipe shop, they generally don't make any sound. And so you have to knock that languid down until it speaks. And then, depending upon what it is, you'll put some nicks in. And this is very mild nicking. We usually don't do very much of it until it goes in the organ.
Oh, because different sound.
Right. You never know how much it's going to need. The more nicking, the smoother the speech. And sometimes you don't want smooth speech. I have cut all these according to a logarithmic chart. I have cut all these up to a certain place. And the higher the cut up, the more fundamental there is. And the lower the cut up, the more overtones, I guess there are. I guess you could say. It's one way to put it.
지금까지 피스크에서 오르간 빌더들의 다양한 직업들을 인터뷰해보았는데요. 오르간 제작에 대해 조금이라도 배우셨길 바라면서 마무리하겠습니다. 감사합니다.